This episode of Let's Talk is all about leaders and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So what do you think, what actual attributes makes a good?
What attributes? That's a good question. I think every good leader or a true leader should have principles. A leader without principle is very dangerous. So first of all, there has to be principles that the leader needs to have.
One of the key things would be positivity. Positivity is one of the main things, and confidence is another thing a leader should have. I think a leader should be able to balance out, for example, both possibilities and negativities, be stabilized sort of a person. That's what I think. Yeah.
Something that we've noticed is that all leaders are old. Why do you think all leaders are old?
I think in our society has has done a good job to let young people to think that in order for you to be a leader, you need to be old. In terms of that, we are not taught from a young age that there is a need for us to start building. Because as I said again, leadership, all what leadership is, you pursuing your purpose. It's not even about the people, it's about you, the person. Nowadays, it's a self-discovery. Because once you discover yourself, now the people come in after. But we've been taught that leadership is about people. I'm acting for the people. So then you start thinking, I'm young, I'm not ready to jump into that role yet. So then you start we neglect it for the older people to exhibit it. Meanwhile, if we all come to the foundation that leadership is a self-discovery, it's not about the people, it's about you realizing your self-purpose and pursuing it, and we will all appreciate it from a younger age.
Do you feel like you have to have power to be a leader?
So I think a leader should have the power and the ability to guide someone and mention exactly what to do in a situation, and that's what I think when it comes to power. Other than that, it should be used in a correct way.
No, not necessarily. Leadership is not about power, but it's about empowerment. Again, because once I realize my purpose, what I am after, and people kind of tune into my purpose and they decide to follow me, when they come, it then becomes my job to serve them. In the serving that I'm doing, you should be able to empower whoever that follows me.
There's something that people always think, people of color. Do you feel like all young people of color have to be leaders?
Well, to answer this question, I think everyone is a leader. I say this because everyone has a purpose, and your purpose is always you providing a service or you serving a generation. But when we decide to forgo our purpose, let's say for instance, yes, young colored people are meant to be leaders. Everyone needs to be a leader. It's like you having a car park. Can you tell me the most important part of a car? The most important part of a car. Can you tell me one? Can you?
The engine.
Is it just the engine?
All of it.
All of it, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is what this world needs. Everyone needs to play their part. And when we all start playing our part, we are all leaders. It's just that at times some people would be seen in the limelight. We see that we have the Prime Minister for the United Kingdom, and that is Boris Johnson. He's in the limelight. It doesn't mean he's the only one working in the government. There are other people that are also playing their roles within it. But most of the time, we all shift our focus to what is visible. Like as I asked you right now, what is the most important part of a car? I just said engine.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's more visible. Which is not wrong. But we as young people should also see, or even everyone needs to see that I myself, I am a leader because I have a purpose?
I think that's a good question. Young people should be leaders. I think they're already leaders because of the global pandemic. Most of the people have become leaders because it has become a situation where everyone, by force, but not by choice, but everybody has to become a leader.
You know, a lot of people get confused between like the idea of a leader and an idea of an influencer. Like, do you feel like they go hand in hand? Like, you know, how some people would say like Cardi B or Beyonce or their leaders. Like, would you agree with this, or would you say more the influencer?
I think again, the like I see it very different. A leader would take a huge risk. Influencer would think of themselves before taking that risk. How profitable it can be. So, for instance, in the case of Nelson Mandela, if he was to be an influencer, you know, he would not have gone into prison, you know, for that number of years. Because as an influencer, all your mind is that you always need to be there for the people.
Yeah.
But as a leader, you're thinking, I'm not saying influencers are not effective. They are effective. But leadership is more, leaders go to the extra mile. Because I think as an influencer, at some point, you'll be very limited when it comes to sacrifices. But as a leader, you're thinking about the extras that people are not thinking about.
I just wanted to ask you, like, you know, for what you keep saying, like, about how leadership is about you leading yourself. Like, what advice would you give to like young people to help that journey of like finding themselves or being a leader?
That's a good question. So first of all, it's always about, as I said, it's always about your passion. What are you passionate about? You know, leadership is not, forget what you've heard, forget what you've been taught. Start with yourself. Now, starting from yourself doesn't mean you should be selfish or I'm keeping everything for myself. No. Discover your passion. What are you passionate about? Because what you're passionate about is what you're meant to give to the world. And as you give what you have to the world, then it turns into leadership.
Thank you so much, Osborne, for doing this interview. You made some good points. Really good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you took something out. You took something out of it yourself.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I learned a lot.
Okay, so what are you taking away? What are you taking away from this discussion?
That I am my own leader. I can lead myself. You know, just work on your own self growth, and that's the best way you could be a leader. That's the best way. And also, you need to make change in our communities if we want to be a leader instead of just, you know, hopping on something because it's a trend or something. We need to think about the long-term change that we can make as leaders.